Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Monday's Wealth Creation Show. Afternoon, Jim. How are you?
I tell you what, the people on TikTok and Instagram will be thinking, how did he do that with his lips moving?
So yeah, we're live. We're live. Jim's streaming live, Instagram, TikTok. I have all the other platforms here. We
Yeah.
are live. Keep it interactive, guys. Please comment and ask questions. We'll try and get to them all at the end. If something's relevant, we'll answer it as we go. But
Absolutely.
today's topic is, and we're going to speak about, can money buy you happiness?
It certainly
So
helped.
yeah, it certainly does help. But yeah, I think a lot of people always refer to, oh, money can't buy you happiness. I mean, everybody's aware of that. But like you say, Jim, I think it's a big element of helping you achieve a place where you are in a kind of happy mindset and you're able to provide yourself and maybe your family a certain level of lifestyle,
Absolutely.
which in turn brings happiness.
See, to anybody out there, if anybody ever says to you, money can't buy you happiness, your first response to them should be, have you tried it lately?
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, it does to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, we were talking on and off throughout the week. There was a few statements and things that people had said that you'd run past me, and we were having a discussion about. Do you want to share some of them with us this morning
I
before
like
we?
to, I like to, if the one thing you know about me, I love podcasts. I love listening
Yeah,
to people like the Oracle of Omaha, which is Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, second command at Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's company, um, and Mike Tyson, people like that, people that have trodden a path to success and sometimes failed, but come up successful again. I love these type of
yeah,
stories because they teach you a huge amount of knowledge and wisdom. More than likely, wisdom is where you don't pay for it. In other words, you're gaining somebody's wisdom. They're making the mistakes and it's costing them the money. And all you're doing is watching them and think to yourself, I'm not going to do that then. Or I might adapt that, what he did or she did, and I'll do this instead. And I think that'll work.
hmm
There's a huge amount you could learn by wisdom. And probably that's why we talk about the wealth creation show and what we're talking about now.
yeah.
One of
Tyson's quite a good one because I mean he lost it all and then got it back again. So
well, this is a really profound one. After meeting great people, a lot of great people, and even though they were great, it didn't mean to say they were actually good. Primarily, I want to be a good person because all great people are not good, but all good people could become great. What a statement, eh? That that to me
that is
is
quite good.
that,
Yeah,
that is a very profound. Now I don't know if that was actually Tyson, but he says it, and it was to do with something to do with one of the Kennedys. One of the Kennedys actually said that, not anybody in politics or anything like that, but one of the family actually said that, and he always remembers that key point. The other one is actually is just a wee the wee throwaway statements, but it's great to keep
yeah,
them with you and in your mind. Um, the key is not to win, but to be in the game as long as possible. And it's the people that are in the game as long as possible are the people who ultimately end up winning and becoming successful. Because every dog has their day. Now, this is just my add on, by the way. Every dog has their day,
yeah.
and you just got to hang around long enough to be that dog, if that makes sense.
And you have
That's
to be in the
all
game.
right.
Then you have to be in the game. If you're not playing the game,
How
then
did you
that's
become so successful? People say, I just kind of hung around long enough
just kept going.
and
Yeah,
kept doing the same thing. And eventually, it's the old thing about, probably fashion, classic example. You've got these fashion designers and they go out of vogue. And then, 20 years later, they come back into mainstream again. They make an absolute fortune again.
yeah,
So the first time round, they make a fortune. They go to Vogue for 20 years. They come back again. They make another fortune. And that's effectively like what most people do in everything they do, whether it's a career, whether it's a family life, whether it's raising children. You'll always have your failures, but you just make sure you've got more successes to compound that. That's all you need
yeah.
to do. Charlie Munger actually said quite an important one. It was this morning actually. Actually, it's the weekend. I saw it. You know, I've got to say, TikTok's great for things like that. You've got to be, you've got to be concerned, obviously, because you can get addicted to TikTok. But it understands me now, so it shows me the things that are completely relevant to me. But Charlie Munger said, at Berkshire Hathaway, he said, there's more to life than money. Wait a minute. That's unusual for Charlie Munger to say that, because you kind of think that's what they're all about. This guy's 99 years old, Charlie Munger. 99. And he's still knocking it out the park. This guy's worth 2 billion, by the way. So I'm going to listen to him if he says something. I might not agree with it, but I tell you what, I'll still listen to him if he says something about it. There's more to life than money. If all you succeeded in life to do is to get rich, get early rich, that's what he's saying, and passive holdings of little bits of paper. If that's all you're after in life, to get early rich and passive bits of, little bits of paper and holdings, what you mean is stocks and share certificates. And you do that better and better, and only that for all of your life, then basically you failed in life. Life is more than just stored income and passive income and wealth accumulation. And he's absolutely right. And this actually takes us on to this. This is why, see how, now I've probably seen that statement loads and loads of times before, but it just so happens at this point in time, we are now focusing on this. Can money buy you happiness? And that's why that's probably popped up and it's resonated with me. I thought,
and then it's more relevant,
talk about that. So what's your thoughts on this, Richard? Gut reaction.
Yeah, I mean, looking at things, when we picked this topic to talk about, I was researching, and obviously people, when you think about money buying you happiness, the first thing you think is money can't buy you happiness. That's a really saying that I think everybody could relate to hearing as they grow up from maybe their parents or their grandparents. And people always associate this with something they're told when they grow up. A lot of people think about winning the lottery and having all this money and what they would do with it. I mean, that's something that I think everybody's toyed with and explored in their mind, having lots of money and doing all these extravagant things. And then that's when money can't buy you happiness rings in the back of your mind, because you were told that when you were growing up. But then for me, really, I don't think having all this money and buying all these excessive things is really what I would concentrate on. I think it's more to have money to be able to live more comfortably, especially in times like now. I mean, people are struggling people are choosing between heating their house and feeding their family and things. Do you know what I mean? In times like this, you're just grateful that you've got money to live comfortably.
That's an interesting statement. But is that the case? People are choosing between how many people
what you hear in the media.
Yeah, this is what you hear in the media. You hear this one soundbite, and how many people are actually choosing between heating their house and feeding themselves? You've got to think about that as well. What's the context of that, and what size of that is? And that's all very well, but where's the circumstances? What did they do in that position to actually get into that position in the first place? Or what did they not do? That's why they're there. So is it our duty to actually just bail all these people out all the time for making all these mistakes and just throwing caution to the wind and pissing it up against the wall? For some people that is like that. And for some people that need that, and that's why you've got a welfare system to help these people. That's down to the welfare system not working properly. That's not anything where everybody points a finger and goes, let's eat the rich, it's their fault. They've got all the money. It's no fair. It's like, they've got all the money because they've worked for it. And they've spent the hard knocks in university. You've been at the hard knocks university. That's why they've got almost an entitlement to it, because they've done their time.
Yeah.
What has that other person done? But I would then prescribe to the fact that, look at the classic example where somebody's due me 6 months rent, and then we looked on the Facebook page and they've been away to Benidorm.
But at the airport.
Like, wait a minute, you're due me 6 months rent. You said you can't afford it, but then you're on your Facebook page in Benidorm with your girlfriend, having a great time. I've effectively paid for that. Is that the type of person? And that's probably the type of person sometimes they'll wheel out and go, oh, this person's getting evicted because they can't afford their rent. It's terrible and all this. He's just been to bloody Benidorm on my money.
Yeah.
And I've paid for it.
Yeah, so you do need to look at it on the flip side like that. I mean, I was listening to the radio the other day or through the week, and this was reference to this cost of living crisis and how people are living and having to make these kinds of choices. And I thought, God, that's pretty dire. I mean, and it did make me think, like, how much is this actually going on? How many people are actually in this situation? Because to be in that situation, well, I wouldn't like to be in that situation.
I've been in that situation.
Yeah.
I know what it's like. I definitely know what it's like. And when we first started out, homeless, unemployed, nowhere to go, all the rest of it, didn't have any income at all. I desperately leaned on the welfare system to try and help them out, and it was deplorable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It just does not help people that want to try and help themselves and get up. It's designed to keep you exactly where you are and make it very difficult to break out of that cycle. It's almost like designed to keep you in poverty. The way the system works, it doesn't reward you for trying to get out of it. It actually penalises you, but that's again a failing of the government. This is quite interesting that somebody, Inspire for Success says, yes, like buying a rental and holding on to it. I don't know if that's
in a positive way, or
what Malton's statement was about,
yeah.
Buying. This is actually quite interesting. Buying a rental and holding on to it. Well, why do you do it? Well, to develop the income.
Yeah.
To afford the things that you couldn't afford to buy. To give you a lifestyle later on for your early retirement, so you can maybe retire a bit earlier than usual, or you can maybe go on that holiday, with accumulation, and you took the risk in the first place in order to do that, and you built the wealth through that as well. So do you not deserve that success? Do you not deserve these rewards? And if it goes down, you also take that risk. Everybody wants a bit of your reward. You can see that, eh? You eat the rich thing. Everybody wants a bit of your reward. But when you lose, they don't all come along and say, I tell you what, we'll chip in and bail you out. No, it's like you're on your own, mate. That's how it works. We all want a bit of what you've got because it's no fair you've got it. Well, considering I worked
even
for
though
it,
you worked hard enough to get it, yeah.
And put my life on the line for it, effectively, because you know that story, and most people that know my story know that story.
Yeah.
But when it comes to helping somebody out because it's no working how it should have worked, and these people turn around, it's like, you're on your own, mate. It's like, I can't do anything for you. I'm not going to help you. So that's the sort of thing. Yeah. That's the sort of thing. It's a kind of double standard, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. And I think just to go back to what I was talking about when I referred to, like, obviously people imagining a lottery win in comparison to, I think it's like when we look at people that are at this level where maybe they are struggling to pay for things, and then you think, well, money can't buy you happiness. But I don't think it was really happiness in terms of let's have enough money to go and buy a yacht. It's more money to be happy and live comfortably without having to struggle. And I think that's a different element of happiness that I would rather have above all.
We are going to, in my mind, it's like the object of the exercise of having the money is not to make you happy. It's to be content. And I keep saying to a lot of people, it's if you're in pursuit of happiness, there'll be more days you'll be disappointed because you'll never reach that happiness level than actually be happy itself. Your objective for the exercise in this should be to be content with what you've got so far, but just be a wee bit uncomfortable with the fact that you're prepared to push yourself out of the comfort zone to reach a wee bit higher. Bowie talks about it, and you've probably seen the video. He talks about it when he's getting interviewed, and he says, creativity is quite challenging, and the way to do that and the way to evolve, and especially in a business as well. But he says, it's just like being in a swimming pool where you're just about to enter the deep end and you're on your tippy toes. Entering into the deep end, and everybody knows what that feeling's like when you're on your tippy toes. You've got a flipping egg. It's like, I'm trying to keep my head above the water, and it's like he says, what happens is just push yourself that wee bit extra so you're just out of your depth, because that's when you become more creative for solutions to get yourself back on track, and that's the point of when success and exciting things happen.
Yeah.
But I'll provide that and say it's not all about excitement. Remember. It's like you could be excited every single time, but actually not get anywhere as a result.
Yeah, that's like we always say, boring pays well, and also
boring
there's a lot
does
of people
definitely pay well. I would say that.
And there is a lot of people that spend a lot of time and spend a lot of money just being busy for the sake of it, but not actually really developing anything or building something that's going to allow them to excel further and progress in what they're trying to do. They're just running about being busy. There's a lot of people like that.
What's your thoughts on this? Here's a connotation come in, and somebody said it in a comment the other night, and I'm quite interested to hear what people's comments are about this. And the fact that just because somebody grew up in a poor council housing estate, they don't have as many chances to do and become wealthy as anybody else.
I wouldn't agree with that completely. I mean, opportunity is what you make of it. you need to seek opportunity to then be successful. And I
Absolutely.
mean, I grew up in an ex-local authority house. I still live in one. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, but yeah, it's what you make of it. So
And I was piss poor at one point. I never had two halfpennies to rub together. I was more in debt than ever. I never had a job and I was unemployed.
mm,
Never had any skills, never had any formal education because I came out of school with 4 grades and a passable higher in maths, and that was about it. I had no
yeah,
prospects on the horizon because I'd just come out of a job as a window cleaner. So did I moan about the fact that I was disadvantageous? You know, how come I never had this, and how come I wasn't entitled to a house or a roof over my head? How come the council didn't house me when I was homeless? Well, I'll answer that question because I was a single guy on his own.
hmm
So they just went, bah, you're no priority because you're a single guy on your own. All right, so does everybody else get priority then? Says absolutely, they do.
important enough.
Yeah, but there's lots and lots of examples out there that people grew up in these environments. Even worse, I would argue as well, or a debate as well. You know, for the people who actually think they're in abject poverty right now here, and we're getting a wee bit off the track here. But
Yeah, I
let's
know.
just get this while we're here. People who argue they're in there, go to Africa, into Kenya, and live a couple of months with these people in their mud huts. They're as happy as ever, and they don't have anything near what we've got in this country at all. Even the most poorest people in this country, and the access to education, the access to welfare, the access to health that they don't have in these countries. And then you come back and tell me you're hard done by.
Yeah, that's just on a different level. That and people maybe don't appreciate as much as what they're going through compared to what poverty. I mean, there is poverty in this country, and that's
I've
the fact, and
seen
we
it.
know that. But
I've seen it. It's
a different level.
unbelievable. It's like, see, when you go to Marrakesh in Morocco, it's like you see these people lying in the street and literally they're disfigured. And
Yeah,
it's not deliberate because some gangs do that to get money, like the Fagin sort of thing in Oliver.
yeah, yeah,
But these people have they have no healthcare system, so they're just basically left to rely on handouts in the street, and people give them as beggars. Now, to me, that's poor.
yeah,
It's no having a roof over your head and maybe no having any formal education and maybe possibly no way to put the fire on, or maybe having to miss a meal now and again. These people have nothing. So it's a definition based on the current surroundings you're in, I would say. It deems if you're poor or not.
yeah,
You know, I've seen it as well, where poor's actually been classified as you don't have access to broadband or Sky television. In case you're disadvantaged when you go to school and they tell you and all discuss programs that are on Sky and you don't have access to it, therefore you can't be in that group.
yeah.
I've sat around the table with social workers and that, and they've actually said that it's like you're poor if you don't have that, so we need to give people access to that. I don't even have Sky. It's like, holy shit, that's a fortune. There's no way I
Yeah.
would be paying that. It's like the only thing I've got is broadband, and that's only for this. And that's primarily what we've got it for, and everything else is online and viewed online for free.
Yeah,
Council
you could
TV is
stream
what
quite
I've
a
got.
lot, yeah.
Yeah,
Review and everything.
absolutely.
Anyway, so yeah, but like back to obviously money making you happier, and sometimes people that have got more money maybe are a wee bit more stingier, maybe, or well, they say they live frugally. It's probably better than the word stingier. I'm just reading from my cues here,
Yeah,
but I mean, we've already know that people in a comfortable living standard, obviously not having to worry about money and clothes and food, etc., are generally happier than those who do genuinely live in poverty. And they may be happier, but research shows um, that some people may be a wee bit more stingier if they've got more money. So I was looking at things here. The University of Manchester done a survey, and it looked at the differences between donations to charities. And this will resonate quite good with you, Jim,
yep.
because I know that you do a lot of charity work. Looked at the difference in donations to charities between high incomes and low incomes, and people who are earning at different levels of the income levels. So their findings were that the poorest 20% of the population donated about 3.2% of their gross monthly income to charity. And that was compared to the same 20% who only donated 0.9% and that's in comparison to those with a lower income. So it means that they were more generous than the people with a higher income. Now,
Mm.
what do you make of that, Jim?
Well,
Because I know you do a lot.
lies.
You do a lot of charity work and give a lot back.
That's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Isn't it?
I'm only reading the
Because
statistics that I got.
when you look at that, 3.2% of somebody else's income at £100 a week is only £3.20. And then
Well,
if you
I
look
did
at
think about
if you
that.
look at 0.9% of somebody's on 100,000,
Yeah,
you know, it's that's a completely different figure. That's £9,000 or something like that.
yeah,
You know, so
yeah. And I did
so,
think about that. I thought in the
so
percentage
monetary
wise,
wise, they're
yeah,
talking about percentage, but the person that's obviously a lot less, then clearly has a lot more to lose. So it's proportionally a lot higher in terms of their income that they're taking in. You know, it's quite interesting. You talk about stingy, and we use that word, but I think the people that are wealthier tend to actually live within their means, or they live
yeah,
under their means. They live under their means. In other words, they know they may be bringing £1,000 a month, but they know if, in order to make something, they either have to spend only 700 and save, invest, or they invest maybe 200 that a month. They've got 800 left, and they say that's what I've got left to spend. That's the wealthy person. The person that is not so wealthy tends to look at that £1,000 coming in and say to themselves, well, I've got £1,000 coming in. What can I spend, and what can I buy, and what will make me happy? And have I got anything left to invest?
yeah,
Oh, no, I've no. Well, I'll just leave it to next month. So they don't understand the value of investing for the future. That's probably key and fundamental here. You talked about stingy as well. Actually, this is actually a true story. This happened at the weekend when I was sitting in a sauna. There was a proper sauna, by the way. No, none of your dodgy saunas. But I'm sitting in the sauna and I'm just overhearing this conversation with this guy, and he's telling this young couple how he gets money off of stuff. And he says, my wife's often saying to me, oh, you're terrible. You're always doing things like this. And he was now proceeding to explain a conversation how he went online and he bought a garden furniture for £550. Then he went on back into the company before it was about to deliver it, but more or less when it was in delivery and in transit, and said, actually, that was meant to be £450. It was on the website somewhere. And then they went, well, go and show us. And he went, oh, he gave some cock and bull story about how he couldn't find that original post because he's no website savvy. Wait a minute, you just ordered it online. He's no website savvy, so he couldn't find it. But they said it's a sign of goodwill and good faith because they were out and it was out distributed. It's in dispatch. It's like the amount of money to take it back, because I know what it's like with working in that environment, is prohibitive. So they gave him £50 off. So he basically doing fine. And he says, well, you know, could I not get a bit more and all the rest of it? And eventually gave him another £15 off. And then when it got delivered to the door, the you know, just the box it was in had a wee bit of bash on the side of the box. So he proceeded to open the box at the bash. He made the bash a wee bit worse, and then he's proceeded to loosen off part of the furniture and then take a photograph of the furniture loosened off. And then this is what he's telling this young couple in front of me. And then he took photographs of it, and then he sent it to the company, and he said, you know, this was bashed and delivered and all the rest of it. He says, and you know, I'm wanting, oh, well, we'll give you another £20 off. No, it's going to cost me more money to get somebody to build that for me because they're going to have to fix it. And I went, oh, well, we'll give you £50 off. And you go, oh, well, you know, and still hopping and moaning about it. Wait a minute, you're that's fraud.
Lying, yeah.
You're defrauding that person. So basically, this is what he was proceeding. And you could call that stingy. But in my opinion, that's just deception and fraud.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of people actually work. They think they're entitled to do stuff like that because these companies have loads and loads of money. So they can afford it. It's like, but you're cheating. You're actually lying and cheating to get this money. So, and that's what I would call stingy.
Yeah.
I would say somebody it's really prudent money management will work out that, you know, I'm getting £1,000 a month. I'll invest £200. I've got £800 to spend. What can I do with that? Whereas the person that has the same £1,000 a month and they're broke is, I've got £1,000 to spend. If I've got anything left, I'll invest it. Otherwise, I'll roll it on to next month.
Yeah.
That tends to be the person, in my opinion, it comes back and starts complaining about how successful and rich other people are.
Yeah, would agree.
Good. I thought we were going to have a debate about
that. No, I would agree with you there. I do, and I don't think the word stingy is maybe, or being stingier.
Do you think he was happy though? Do you think this guy will be happy? Do you think he'll
No.
be happy? Do you think that was a really good situation? Because look at the amount of stress he's put himself through to try and get that discount. And he's walked away and gone, yeah, that's brilliant. Look what I've
And
got.
all the time that he used,
The turmoil and
basically.
the time that he's used to do that. You could have spent that same amount of time actually generating some money, generating income to actually earn enough to actually just say, look, that's no bother. I could afford that. I'll buy it. And I'll pay you a decent, I'll pay you a decent price, because I realise, and this is the key here, you've got people to pay and people to employ and look after with their pensions, as well as you've got a facility to run and bills to pay as well, and the wider community to look after as well. But no, I'll try and rip you off as much as possible. That's what he's basically saying instead. So I believe that that person will probably be broke for the rest of his life. He even talked about how he tried to do it with the existing sauna place he was in at the hotel at the Crown Plaza.
While he was sitting in it.
Honestly. And I'm like, we're having a laugh. And I just had to keep my mouth.
I'm surprised. I was going to
biting
say,
my lip all the way through this.
I was surprised. I was waiting on you saying, well,
I
I
just kind
said.
of kept really, really quiet, never said a word, and just kind of kept myself, closed my eyes, and I thought, I hope to God you do not ask me for my opinion, because I'm going to give it to you both barrels. And I'm going to basically say, is that not just defrauding and deception?
It is, and there isn't really much way to dress that up any other way. That's what it is. But yeah, in reference to what I said about the people at different level of incomes and what they donate and things, it does say on where I found the stats and things that these findings don't really give you the actual definitive answer to, obviously, does money make you happier? But you could probably deduce from that if having more money doesn't make you maybe that wee bit kinder, and a lot of people could argue that that's an essential part of being happy, I think, to be a kind person, and that all comes with obviously donating to things like when people have go out their way to donate to food banks and charities and do things like that, then that shows that you're kind. And I think to share and be like that and be kind, it kind of gives you that self-gratitude as well. So ultimately you will be happy. I mean, do you want to talk? I mean, Jim, I know you do a lot of charitable donations and things and work with the community and things. Do you want to touch on that just now? Or
I don't like talking about it.
I know you don't. I know, but
it's a classic example when I look at these TikTok videos and videos online about, you know, how they give away and they turn up at the shop and go, "Could you give me $1 to help me out?" And then the next minute, you know, like, "There's $500 to you for helping me out," and it's like, that's the reason that they're doing that is to earn money out of people watching it and sell you advertising, and it's great. And some people do it with the best intentions, but I think a lot of them do it just to actually get more money themselves. And it's fine if it floats anybody else's boat, but you know, over the years, probably, well, when you look at all the contributions I've probably given away and all the rest of it, it's a good two or 300,000. When you look at all the rents, I've just said, oh, forget it, didn't bother, you don't need to pay me, or I'll keep the rent low for you, or something like that. Plus the fact is, you know yourself, our drive is to give as much back to the community as we can, on the premise that they're using us to sell their house. I mean, the reality is, if you have a choice with two estate agents, like they're out there, and one does the same as what you're doing in terms of the fees and charges, would you not just choose the estate agent who actually puts most of the money back into the community? It's like, but there's still people out there that didn't get that. It's like, why would you not do that? And that's the vehicle that I'm using right now, which is Fife Properties, in order to do that, in order to have that vision. I've had this vision all my life. I used to sit and watch Secret Millionaire. I used to sit and watch Secret Millionaire. Now, Kevin Green is a friend, was on Secret Millionaire. But these are the stories that inspired me. And I thought, God, I would love to do that one day. I'd love to do all these things. Undercover Boss is another one. It's on the Now. It's the US version on the television. It's like, I love watching these things. I love watching these things. You know, people are genuine, and people that have put, have been recognised, they put their effort into it, and they've been recognised for their achievements. And somebody's actually gone out their way to recognise these people, and sort of recognition, but also in monetary terms to help them out. You know, they've got big, huge student loans in America and stuff like that. And it's like, no bother, we'll clear out your student loan. And it's like, that's you're done. Now, whether they get back to that because they've got the habits that developed that in the first place is another story. But at least they've given them that chance. And for me, it's about, you know, the happiness comes from within. But you've got, you can't beat it actually giving someone something. It helps their life. That's probably the most rewarding thing ever,
Yeah.
to be able to help someone else without any thought of expecting in return. In other words, oh, I helped you, so you got to help me. We used to call them, when I grew up, they used to call them Indian givers.
Indian givers, yeah.
Indian givers. In other words, your classic
I'm aware
example.
of that. Just funny, a lot of
You
younger
would give them something, and
generation.
the next minute the cowboys would go around the corner, and then they would come down and rob them again and take it back.
Yeah,
Sort of that sort of thing, yeah.
It's not something that young people don't really know what an Indian giver is, but I grew up with that as well. That's it. There's an interesting thing here. Andrea jumped into the comments and said, I found that people who are often the most generous are those who have the least themselves. Now, that's interesting.
Probably because they know what it feels like.
Yes, and I think that's not just, I think, and you could elaborate, Andrea, if you like, in the comments, but that's not maybe just them giving money and things and donations and charity. It's probably their time. They're maybe donating their time to help whatever, I don't know, volunteering down at food banks and doing all these kinds of things. Because maybe not necessarily, you don't need to have money to help people. You can just be yourself and help you with your time.
It's time. Time is more important what most charities want. This is quite an interesting comment we've got here. I don't donate to charity because we've excessive CEO and management wages. Absolutely right. I don't donate to these people either. I donate to local funds and causes in our community, which doesn't have these huge costs. The ones that will never see the mass market campaigns and the mass income that they receive from these to actually bring in to pay all these wages and salaries. Now you've got to understand, you need these sort of to run these systems. You need CEOs and management and all the rest of it to run these systems. But that's why I like going for the unseen ones. You know, the local food banks, which don't get any exposure at all. The local trust, the local community engagement forums, the local ones that take the kids out of school, and for example, the Cellardink Trust, which is actually rebuilding the Manx Beauty. So the Manx Beauty is going to be rebuilt, and they're going to teach all these young children the new skills in boat building and why they should plan for the future and make sure you grow the trees so you can replace the bits of this boat later on with the same type of tree it's got on it now, because it's essential. So you need 99 years or something to grow these trees. So this boat's going to get refurbished in the beginning. It's going to be 99 years and they're going to have to refurbish it again. So you're going to have to grow these special trees in order to get this boat refurbished in 99 years' time. And the whole thought process behind that, look at that engagement for the community and for the children at large. That's priceless. You can't even put a figure on that. That's why these sort of things are so important to do. And that's why I do what I do. And this is what we do here for that reason. Does it really buy you happiness? We've all heard people saying money doesn't buy happiness. What does it actually mean? People often think if they have all the money to buy the things that they want, take their dream vacation and live in the dream home, they'll finally be happy. Guess what? Newsflash, you won't. Because all your shit that's on your back right now in your baggage is coming with you anyway.
That's
the stuff you have to deal with, you're carrying about. That's what makes you happy. Dealing with what's happening right now and offloading that baggage you've been carrying about for years. And that takes effort, it takes time, it takes discussion, it takes looking within, not buying everything and trying to make yourself feel good about, look at me, my Ferrari. And it's like, in 2 weeks later, it just wears off.
Yeah, it's like the short-term gratification for buying material things.
But more importantly, it's the classic example about, look at me, my Ferrari. And then hopefully everybody will reinforce that and you'll get a wee dopamine hit every single time. Sometimes it says, look at you and your Ferrari, look at your Ferrari, look at you, oh, look, that Ferrari. And it's like they take out every single weekend so everybody can see it and congratulate them on having a Ferrari. I couldn't give a shit. That's really what it comes down to. I could do a lot more with that than just buy a Ferrari. No things about Ferrari people and all this. It's no anything personal or that. I just understand a different level. I've been taught by mentors and people far more successful than me, and not just monetary terms. I would love, and I'll probably will at one point, to spend some time in a Buddhist monastery. But I have when we climbed, when we climbed Everest, we visited some of these places, and I tell you what, I could get used to that. I could get used to that sort of you know, the Tibetan thing and just living in a monastery and being cut off from society and just having that peace of mind and the relaxation and understanding how you have to live, all these different things. It's a bigger picture, isn't it? So the money doesn't really buy the happiness, but it can afford you to spend that time with loved ones and do the social activities you really want to do. This is the key here. This is why I always refer to myself as a property time lord. The lack of time can have an impact on all these things that you actually want to achieve. Time is the most important commodity in this world. When you're on your deathbed, the money's not going to save you.
No. And more likely than not, people always regret not spending enough time doing certain things or spending time with people.
First question I ask myself every single time I'm going to make a decision to do something, it's like, will I lie on my deathbed and will I regret the fact that I'm not going to do this? And if the answer to that is no, it's like, there's no point in doing it.
Yeah.
How much more do I need to achieve? How much more do I need to acquire? What else do I need? I don't need anything. I might want, but I'm not a want kind of person.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, more often than not, money does come from working and working enough to earn a high income. And that is often associated with long working hours and with little time left to spend with maybe your family and your loved ones and all the rest of it, and social activities. And that lack of time can have a negative impact on your social relationships and things. And with less time to spend, the extra money, it can actually make you more miserable, really. So it's trying to find that balance and doing that balance with time and money is quite important.
So let's go to the University of Rome and what they said about this, investigating the happiness of lottery winners, for example.
Yeah.
They found that considering their newfound wealth, lottery winners were not much happier than those that haven't won. It's the baggage that you're carrying on your back. That's the problem here. And what happened is, as increased wealth is associated with increased pressure and responsibility, the fear of losing it is what happens next. And for people that aren't prepared for having that type of money, because you've got to prepare for this, you've almost got to fake it until you make it. You've got to wonder what sort of lifestyle and go through sort of lifestyle and what you'd be like if you did that and how you would handle having that money in order for when that money arrives to know how to handle it and understand. Because a lot of people actually have become really, really successful and they go, how do you feel because you're a multi-millionaire now? And they go, no different than what I felt before. It's like, because I imagined it would happen. I lived that life in my head. So when I got there, hey, I knew I was there. Oh, great. It's no different than what I thought already or how I felt. It's probably even more comfortable now. So then you have to set another goal, what you want to do next. But that's a different story, I suppose.
Yeah.
So the increased wealth and responsibility, it could explain why lottery winners don't feel that instant happiness and everyone thinks they will feel it. They finally have the money to what they buy. And you know what, the greatest feeling in the world, and nobody's going to be able to do it to me one day because I don't buy lottery tickets. I don't. Yeah. The only way to win a lottery is not to play it because you win them instantly because you're not playing it. Because you're keeping the money, aren't you? Mm-hmm. That's an addicted gambler for you, by the way. That's what they say. Yeah, when I was younger. Gamblers Anonymous. So the only way to win is not to play. But I tell you what, I would love to go. I love it when people play these pranks on other people about the lottery cards. You know, the scratch cards when they've won $1 million. And then you see the feeling on them and you see their face and you see what they've won and all the rest of it. And they go, wow. And they freak out, like, I've won $1 million, I can't believe it, flipping egg. And it's like, and then they go, oh, it was only a joke. Now, you could do two things here. You can go, that's hellish. Why did you do that to me? Or you can go, thank you very much. I have now experienced what it's like for someone to win the lottery. That's
I never thought of it like that.
That's a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could you imagine just experiencing what it's like to win the lottery? I could imagine it right now because it's like flipping heck. You see the endorphins that I'm kicking off in my mind now. Mm-hmm. All these endorphins that are coming through my system and feeding my mind. It's like I'm a one-man drug factory. Natural drugs. Honestly, that's how you do it. Tony Robbins teaches you how to do that, you see, and how to put yourself. You can change your circumstances in a heartbeat, just like that. If you know your triggers, which will release the right endorphins to make you feel the best that you can feel. Don't do it all the time, by the way, or you'll crash and burn at some point.
I'm just going to say you burn yourself out.
You really want to pull it out of the bag. You can learn how to do this. Tony Robbins is a master at this. Master. Guru, Yoda, and further. So, does sharing the wealth make you happy? I think we've touched on this a bit.
Yeah, we touched. I did think about that when we were talking about obviously charity work and things, and sharing wealth is quite important. And I knew that we were going to. It was on the agenda to discuss. So I just we have kind of covered it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think definitely if you're in a position where you have built wealth and you have money, then to share it and to give back is a really important part of that. And I'm sure you'll agree.
We've got a study from the British University of Columbia, I think it is.
Yes.
What happened with that study? What was that all about?
Yeah, so the experiment that they done was they had participants receive an envelope which had money in it. And one group were told to buy something nice for themselves. And the other group were instructed to buy something for someone else. Now, the researchers found that the second group, who was buying something for something else, who shared their money with someone else, reported increased feelings of happiness compared to the group who kept it for themselves. And that is obviously about the whole sharing thing. And then that too, for the most part, I think everybody would feel the same, as to share and to give things to other people makes you...
No, Richard. No, Richard, you make a huge assumption there.
Right, okay.
There's more. I would argue, and you're lucky you have this feeling. I would argue more people out there don't want to share with other people.
Yeah,
they maybe think they want to, but they won't when it comes down to it.
That's probably me expecting everybody else.
Yeah, that's how you are, and that's how the people are you. And no doubt, I'm like that as well. And it's that sort of thing. So you get like the people you associate with, and this is what it happens. I used to sit and I was in network marketing, and I used to sit and talk about people's dreams and their houses. So I used to tell them in network marketing, you build, I build, we help each other together, we both make money, and everybody's successful as a result in network marketing. And the more people you help, the more successful you become. And that's the ethos that I actually follow right now, still today, in everything I do. But I tell you, the amount of people that I used to say, so what would, if I helped you become extremely successful, what would you do? Who would you help? And there was people out there used to say to them, I'd get to all the neighbours. I would just ram it right in their throat and their nose, stuff it in their nose, and just, I'll rub my money and all the rest. I'd buy a car, and I'd be doing this and I'd be doing that. And no doubt, these people today are absolutely stony broke. And that's because the type of person they are, because they're not givers. Only the giver will be a receiver. And somebody that keeps it all to themselves, nobody will go near them. So if you're absolutely stony broke right now, it's possibly because you're not that type of person that's a giver. And people don't gravitate towards you for that reason. It's the law of attraction. It's the classic example about, I think it's cast out bread upon the waters, and it'll come back tenfold. It's true. It's the more you give, the more you'll receive. Now, you don't need to necessarily, as I said, expect to receive it from the same person. But you will receive it one day in abundance because of what you do. Remember, I'm keying here and I'm indicating here, you have to take action to do that.
Yeah. The
more you give, the more you will receive eventually. And you'll find that the more, and in the beginning, to be honest, if you're that kind of mindset, the first 5-10 years that you're giving, you're thinking, man, it's like, am I really doing the right thing here? Yeah. And it's like, no, because it usually takes you to get to that level about 15 to 20 years, to get to a multimillionaire level of doing that all the time and being that type of person without any expectation. That's the type of person that will be ultimately successful and ultimately wealthy, if that makes sense. Even if you're not monetary wealthy, you'll still be wealthy from within. By the actions that you've done. So you could be the poorest person ever, but you could still be the richest when it comes to wealth of friends, wealth of people that you can rely on, wealth within, harmony within. That's probably the most important thing for a lot of people. So
I think that for me, that is, I think, instead of maybe just cold hard cash, if you want to put it that way.
of course, because it's no down it. It's no down the pounds, shillings, and pence, is it? It's never down. You can't. Pounds, shillings, and pence is just a measure in order to equate to the rest of society about how you exchange goods and services. That's all it's there for. And so it's like what somebody said there earlier on. You know, it's a tool to do good things. And if you're, you know, maybe they're, and I'm going to slant what they said, but if you're the one not doing good things, you're maybe the tool.
Yeah, well, okay.
And I don't, and that could be in a sarcastic sense, but that could be all the fact that you're actually the person, you know, no going anywhere. You're in the system, you're systematized, and you're stuck where you are.
Yeah. So that experiment that I explained there, they did also do a version of it with the younger children and at a younger age, and they replaced money's envelopes with crackers and things. And they did find that infants and the younger aged ones that were sharing showed a sign of happiness to share. And I think that seems to show that from a young age, people are happier when they're able to share with others. I think that's. Well, I believe, I think that people when they're younger, you don't have a lot of stuff instilled in you, and your approach and your view on things is very different. It's not until you grow up and pick up all these other people's kind of influence and bad habits on things, and how your view on things then changes, I feel.
Yeah, I would agree. When I was younger, I lived in a family which we competed against each other all the time. So when it came to sharing anything, that was just no an option. We just didn't share because we tended to have to keep everything ourselves, because it was a case that we took from each other, or basically I got most things taken from me because I was the youngest. So it was pretty foreign to me to go around my friend's house. Incidentally, this friend I'm about to talk about today, I just got news that she had actually died. She's younger than me, but I remember Nicola very, very well. And they used to get sweets all the time, and the first thing they would do is they would put their sweets out on the floor and they would share them with me. And I was like gobsmacked. I'm thinking, who does this? Who does this sort of thing? Now I'm about 7 years old and I'm fighting for everything going because that's the environment I grew up in, and that's how I was taught. You eat what you kill, basically. You know, you have to fight for everything.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, and Nicola and Douglas were two young children who were actually taught from a very young age to share all the time. And for me, that was probably the first introduction to seeing. And they must see at a young age they must have had all that enjoyment and all that feeling about the fact that they're sharing. But I never experienced any of that at all. That was difficult because it was nothing. It was very, very foreign to my environment that I grew up in. It was very competitive. I grew up in the environment I did, and even you see it now. You now begin to learn as you get older from other people more successful. For example, the athletes. You know, why do they help each other? Why do they congratulate each other on the finishing line? You know, what's all that about? It's like, would you know, you're competing against somebody? Surely you would want you to win and them to lose. And it's like, no. They compete against themselves, and if they're not as good on the day, then they congratulate their opponent and say, you know, fantastic, you did a fantastic job. I'll get you next time round, and I might do the fantastic job. So that's kind of how they look at it. So sharing anything probably makes you a lot more happier. And you're right about that, about the kids when they're all brought up and stuff like that, and how they're brought up. So probably the best introduction to that is to introduce at a very young age to let children understand and probably environments where you can be able to demonstrate that is more enjoyable to actually share your success with other people.
Yeah.
And that'll be a whole round well-being. I mean, we're not talking about a society where everybody just has everybody else's and, you know, everybody's got the same wage and the same everything, because that's not going to work. That's just no human nature. That's not hardwired into us and as caveman, and that'll never go, by the way. The hardwired caveman instincts, it's stuck with us for life. It's hardwired into us. But I think that's the most important thing. So
you talk about wages.
Yeah,
you talk about wages and salaries and things here, Jim, and there's other studies I've looked at, and they talk about a money threshold or a money threshold for happiness.
Yeah.
Now, there was a study done. This was done at Princeton. It's an American study, but obviously I thought it was quite relevant. And they have believed that there is a threshold of happiness, basically, and how much you earn, and how much money you can actually bring you happiness. And once you surpass that threshold, it no longer affects your happiness. So what they done was identify the threshold for money buying happiness at $75,000. It was. So once their income surpassed the 75,000 per year level, it was reported that happiness plateaued, and earnings of $75,000 mark is more money and more happiness and more than this, and it's any more than this would just create money problems, basically. And that's what their study was set out to.
I could vouch for that. As you get,
I was just going to say, what's your thoughts on that?
As you get more, you have bigger problems with money. In other words, how to keep it, because it's no easy. And then you've also got to have learned all the habits to acquire to not rush out and spend it like it's going out of fashion. It's like I used to get told when I was younger. My mum and dad used to say to me, "Your money burns a hole in your pocket." Every single time I used to get told that. Money burns a hole in your pocket. Every time I had something, I had to spend it.
See, I find that strange, because that's not the you that I know.
Imagine that. That's not me. But that's how I was when I was younger. Money burns a hole in your pocket. As soon as I got money, I just had to run and spend it. Now, whether that's a dopamine hit thing is probably the exact thing it was, because of my circumstances when I was younger. But that's another story. But interestingly enough, that's £60,000, $75,000.
Yeah.
And they think that's the money threshold to buy happiness. But what you don't, and a lot of people in this country could be, in the UK, could be going, flipping heck, I tell you what, 30 grand would buy me happiness. But that's because they have to pay for their own healthcare. They have to pay a hell of a lot more for everything else. They have to pay for their own education. They have to pay for everything else. So the £60,000 in their money terms, $75,000, is to pay for the lifestyle that we could probably buy for 30 grand.
Yeah,
effectively. In my opinion, that's a level that I think, for me personally, I think 30, 40 grand, I'd be delighted at that level. I've got no aspirations to have huge amounts of spending, and I probably live off that now. I probably live off less than that now, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that obviously in America and things, they have a lot more expenses in terms of medical and things that we already have access to through the NHS. I have a cousin who lives in New Zealand and avoids she looks after her teeth and she looks after herself, because a trip to the dentist there will cost you a fortune. Do you know what I mean? But do you know, like, even just to go have a checkup on your teeth or something at the dentist is crazy. We take advantage of the fact that we've got all that included in our NHS.
Yeah.
I mean, we have spoke about, Jim, having the advantage of having that bit extra money. You could do private healthcare and things in the right situation. But I think we
Absolutely.
are lucky to have the NHS anyway.
I can't decry that situation, the fact of the NHS, but however, it's good to you've got the affordability if you need it in order to go to the private healthcare system, if the NHS can't afford. I mean, look at my knee right now. I've been stopped for running because of my knee. I can afford £65 to go to a physiotherapist for a session at 65 quid. Now, in the early days, I'd be throwing up at that. I'd be like, oh my God, that's a hell of a lot of money. But in the context of my health and being allowed me to get back into what I'm doing, that's kind of what I did, why I did what I did in order to afford that, to do that. And that could be another 10 sessions. That could be 650 quid. But what am I going to do it? I can't take it with me. So surely my health's more important. My dad, who's on his way out in Parkinson's, he's literally at the point where he can't even walk now. Now, he's got a lot of wealth, okay? I told him to pass it on to the kids. I don't want it. But so pass it on to the kids when you go. But he's on his way out. He's probably got about 2 or 3 months, I would say. And he's had enough. And he's on his Zimmer frame. And that's literally, and Elaine says to him, do you want to go around the shops? He went, well, my frame's not really great. The wheels are wobbly and all the rest of it. And she said to him, well, why do you not just buy a new one? He says, get the £30 on Amazon. Cost a blooming fortune. What? You've only got about 3 or 4 months to live. What does it matter? You're minted. You're not taking it with you. Even try to get my Stanner stair lift. It's like Stanner stair lift, you need to get one. Gym round the corner only lasted 18 months with his. Never got value for money. It's like, when you fall down the stairs, and if you fall down the stairs, you ain't coming back out of hospital.
Yeah.
That's you in there forever. If you break a hip. And he's like, I'm not getting my money's worth at my Stanner stair lift, though. That's why he's not buying one. No buying one of them. It'll damage the staircase. Who cares?
It's funny how that's his mindset on that, and obviously it's just the way he's always been, and it doesn't change, even though he's maybe at that time in his life, obviously, where
See the valuable lessons that I learned out of this. It's like, my God, you've literally got about 3 months left, possibly, and you're still quibbling about the fact that you know what to spend another tenner than what it's worth, or 30 quid for a. And it's like, you've got all that wealth in ISAs and saving schemes. Your house is all paid off, and it's like, my God, you're not taking it with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that sort of mind, that's the mindset you have to break out of. You have to understand that. You don't need to. I'm not saying to throw caution to the wind and run away out there and spend an absolute fortune and just whee for the rest of your life. It's like, but when you get to that age, there's this fear that you're going to run out of money. But when you put it into context, if you've got £1 million and you've only got 20 years to last, then effectively you've got 50 grand in cash, no tax, by the way, because you've got £1 million in wealth and it's no taxable because it's in your bank now, or it's in ISAs. You could effectively spend 50 grand a year for the next 20 years. Do you not think that's going to give you an enjoyable life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, folk didn't do that. They didn't work the sums out. They don't actually sit and say, but what if I last another 5 years beyond that? I didn't think you're going to really spend 50 grand a year anyway, to be honest, but I'm kind of just giving you the idea about you could spend 50 grand a year for the next 20 years and you'll still run out of money. Because more than likely that money will have gone up anyway, because it's in bank accounts and savings and bonds and stuff like that. Because you would hedge it a bit and make a bit more money on it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're really going to last another 20 years. If you're at 70-year-old, you're going to last till 90. Oh, but what if I do? It's like, hey, cross that road when you come to it.
Yeah.
What does it matter?
Yeah. If you're making it to 90, you're lucky. So.
But you're going to be real pissed if you die after 10 years and then you leave all that money. It's like, well, you're not going to be, because you'll never know.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting you talk about age, Jim, because the next part I was going to touch on was obviously age and gender and how that plays a part in what we're talking about today. And researchers have identified that the idea that money can buy you happiness is influenced by a range of factors, and age and gender and things come into that. They identified that as we get older, we are less likely to hold on to the belief that money can buy you happiness. And furthermore, that the gender differences compared to men, women are less likely. This is not my opinion. This is just what I'm reading. That women are less likely to believe that money holds the key to happiness than what men do. So that's quite interesting.
Possibly because men are more structured and logical in their approach, and they think the accumulation of wealth will buy them the things that they need to attract the women that they want.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real good theory for it.
Right. That's an interesting.
Whereas women are emotionally led, and they don't believe in the, oh, I need the fast car, I need that. I mean, there'll be some women out there with these sort of traits, but that's fine. But they're more emotionally led, so they're more within themselves and think, if I'm happy within myself, that's where my true being is. Whereas men is like, I want people to see me as successful. I want that, because that's a man. That's a look at me, Mr. Caveman. If I look the most successful, I'll attract the best mate. That's going back to primate. That's exactly how the man's hardwired. I'll attract the best mate if I'm the biggest body, if I'm the most successful person. That's what that is. And then women are more emotionally led and look at men and go, oh, he looks to it. Because here's the classic example. When a man and a woman meet together for the first time, and this is just genetic, so we're no gender. Stereotyping. Man and woman meet together for the first time, and the fantastic and all the rest of it. The moon and the stars has come out. It's absolutely wonderful. The two of them think that, and then they go away to speak to their friends. Okay. The men's friends first of all go to themselves and go, "What does she look like? Is she beautiful? Oh God, she's absolutely gorgeous. oh, geez, it's like, she looks beautiful, and she looks beautiful in this, beautiful in that, and she could wear a dustbin liner and she still look beautiful. She could shave her head and she still look beautiful. That's how men's hormones work. That's how they work in natural, and that's how a man works all around them. When a woman goes to speak to her pals in a women's group, the first thing they don't say is, "What does he look like?" It's, "What does he do?"
Yeah.
Because they're about nurture nature in order to create an environment for them genetically. This is how it works, hardwired for procreation. That's it.
Yeah.
It's science. We're hardwired for this. This is why this happens. And they think, who's going to be the best provider for me and my family when it comes along?
Yeah.
And that's why the rest of the women go, what does he do? He does nothing. He's a deadbeat then.
How's he going to
It's like-
provide? Yeah.
That and unfortunately, that is the way it's all hardwired and designed to be. So it different genders hold different ideas about what it is, but in the majority, they're both more or less on the typical stereotype Neanderthal man and nurturing women.
Yeah.
In terms of how they attract and how they interact with each other. So we've talked about furthermore gender differences compared to men and women less likely to achieve the more money and the key to happiness. Okay, so what about get more bang for your buck or happiness? What's all that?
We've quoted quite a lot of studies and research and things, and I pulled a lot of that together just to kind of give us examples to try and lead our discussion about, does money actually bring you happiness?
Yeah.
And the researchers have found that the relationship between money and happiness might not be as strong as we think. I think that there's a lot of debate, and there could be a lot of people on either side of the fence here. But these researchers put together 8 principles, which they believe, regardless of income, can get you more happiness for your money. If that
Perfect.
makes sense. So I thought we could finish off today and run through these 8
Rattle them out and
principles.
finish them off then.
Yes. So first
Spend
one.
more money on experiences and not material goods.
Yep, I would agree.
Made up by the people that make the money.
Yeah.
Made up by the companies that want to sell you something. That's maybe where that's come from. So you got to be pinch of salt. But it's true though. You know, you're never gonna lie on your deathbed and not remember, not look back and think, I'm glad I went on that holiday.
Yeah.
I'm not glad I went on holiday. And you know what I mean? It's like you wouldn't say to yourself, I'm glad I kept that money in the bank.
Mhm.
So it is about experiences, not material goods.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, buying the new car does give you that experience in the beginning, but as I say, it's a honeymoon period and it wears off, and then hey, you just got a new car. That's it. It's just a new car. And I still get that from people when over the years when I've got new cars. It's very rare now, but I get a camper van, and my T25 1981 camper van, my Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Everyone's going, let me look at it, let me look round it, and all the rest of it, and I'm going like, okay then. Well, it's just a camper van. It's like, but everybody's looking at this like, oh, it's it's like, oh, no, it's just a camper van. It's like it's that's all it is. There's nothing, to me, there's nothing exciting about it. It's just, I want a camper van. I've liked the idea being able to be self-sustainable in case Elaine kicks me out the house.
Somewhere to go.
I have lived on the drive a couple of times actually, just to because I wanted to. It's like I just put the top up and I just have my wee breakfast in the morning and that, and just being out in the drive actually somewhere else in the elements is fantastic. For me, that's great. That is an experience that money can't buy.
Yeah.
So that's and could you imagine if you have really young children, it will do that with you. Mm-hmm. I used to do that with the kids with the tents. You used to camp out the back garden and stuff like that. I used to do it as a wee boy as well. One of my pals, we used to camp out in the back garden, and then we'd go in the middle of the night and create havoc.
I was going to say, steal the milk, Jim, or you're stealing them.
But also another tool to help yourself. The reasoning behind this is that we are social beings. So anything that we can improve on social connections ultimately invokes more positive feelings.
Yeah.
This is why about helping others helping others is it's debatable by saying it's a quite kind of selfish motive, because it's you that probably gets the best buzz out of this about helping another person. Although you shouldn't go in to do that. You should go in with sincerity, but only time will tell if you're that type of person. Buy yourself more smaller treats instead of a few bigger treats. The old saying, it's the little things that come to mind.
Yeah.
Do you really need that extended warranty? Buy less insurance. We all have all buy expensive items and get drawn in by the insurance offers. We think protects us against the inevitable, which often it doesn't happen. Insurance is the biggest scam going, isn't it?
It can be, yeah.
But that's why Berkshire Hathaway, and that's why Warren Buffett loves insurance companies, because it's like it's money for old rope. Really, you're protecting the downside, but you're making a lot of money insurance, and the catastrophic event will never happen. But it's actually hedging people against that event. I talk about it quite a lot in my buy-to-let portfolio, and the fact that I'm insured, but my excess is £1,000.
Mhm.
I'm only insured for disaster. In other words, if the house burns down, or if it's completely destroyed, like for example what happened recently,
Yeah,
and that's £20,000 to rectify that, plus the loss of rent, that's covered.
Yeah.
That's why I don't bother about the insurance, really. It's just, and my insurance for my portfolio is very, very minimal in comparison to everybody else's, who actually can't take the risk of having £1,000 excess. But I'm quite happy to do that, because it's very, very rare on the risk of probabilities. On the likelihood of probabilities that will actually happen in the future. And that's how the insurance companies work. They're like a betting shop, really.
Yeah. So yeah, insurances, you said, Jim, yeah?
Yeah, probably the fifth one for do the opposite of buy now, pay later. Pay now and use later. So in other words, what they're saying is it's we are less likely to be tempted by the immediate reward and go for something for the long-term benefit. For example, you may choose a banana to eat for later than a chocolate bar to eat right away.
Yeah.
Think about the details you've missed out on. When imagining your dream house or your dream car, you only focus on the details which please you. Focusing on both the pros and the cons will help you see the bigger picture and helping you to spend money for long-term happiness. Be cautious when comparison shopping. What do we mean about that, Richard?
I think when you're using comparison websites and things, it may cause you to lose focus off the details and the features that you need to make you happy. So instead of focusing on the features that help you distinguish between items, such as the price, you may go with the cheaper option, bag yourself a bargain, only later to realise that isn't exactly what you were looking for in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson with running gear. You know, when you get t-shirts and when you get shoes and stuff like that. I mean, you know, it's a false economy. Buying the least, you know, I used to go for the cheapest Sports Direct sort of thing, and then I started to realise that Salomon,
the material doesn't last.
You know, it was really good quality to protect your feet and also protect your joints as well, because they were built properly in terms of their design and stability. So that's the type of thing that we're thinking of there. Follow the crowd. Well, when looking to buy the wish list item, look at someone who's already purchased it. Do they seem as happy as you think they would be by buying the bag or the shoes? Is it like going to the cinema and watching a movie based on a recommendation? And if you think about it this way, you'll figure out what's really important and what you just want on a whim.
Yeah.
I do every single time now. I am not a person that does impulse buys. I learned that with a car I bought, a Mini Metro, years ago. Austin Metro at Taggart's. You know, basically drop out a hat, we bought it. Honeymoon period, this is what I talk about. 2 weeks later, I thought, did I really need that? I could have just kept the Mini and just patched it up. Did I really need that? That's the classic example. So yes, look at somebody else who's bought it already and look if they really enjoyed it, but also then think to yourself, do I really need it? Or is it just that I want it? That's probably the right thing to do. Let's wrap up. What money doesn't buy happiness, right?
Well, everybody says money doesn't buy happiness, but I don't think it's as straightforward as it always seems, and we've covered a lot of that today. I mean, it does really split everybody into two camps, yes and no. It's not as clear cut as yes, money can buy you, make you happy, but it can make you maybe a wee bit more frugal if you've got money and a wee bit more cautious of how you spend your money. On the other hand, increased income and things we have looked at can maybe be associated with long working hours and less leisure time. So then having the opposite effect and potentially making you a little bit more miserable.
Quickly, to the audiences out there listening and tuning in right now, do you think money does buy you happiness?
It would be good to hear some as we
We'll
wrap
cover
up.
these comments at the end, just at the end of this.
Yeah, so more money only really buys you happiness, I think, when you do the right things with it, potentially like sharing your wealth and things like we've discussed today. And so much more money can bring you happiness. But we've looked at obviously the threshold there where we spoke about that study with the salary at $75,000. That was an American thing we looked at. Any more than that, then your happiness sometimes in this study they found that it plateaued. Your age and your gender and things as well, they play a big part in this and how much we believe money is the key to happiness.
Yeah.
And then we've just went through and outlined the 8 principles there and steps which can help you get more happiness from your money and without actually having to make more money. Also, winning the lottery may not be the answer to all your problems. It may actually bring you more problems of its own. And like you say, with a lot of money, a lot of baggage comes with that. So that's something to think about. Still, there's nothing wrong with having a plan on how to spend your money and your wealth if you have that, but just I think to be careful as you do that. So I think, where does the debate sit with everybody? I think it's really going to be interesting if people join in and tell us what
Do
they
you think money buys you happiness, or
do you
think it's quite the opposite? Now, interesting. I've got a couple of ones in here who have said no, nope. So I just my personal opinion. Does money really buy you happiness? I think the money is the right tool to provide happiness, possibly for other people, but happiness comes from within, really. That's what it does. It's not the money that creates that. You maybe get the initial temporary feeling of having the money and think, I could have anything else in the world. Look at Robbie Williams. I'm rich beyond my wildest dreams. Remember that when he ran out and he got his album deal? And yet he talks about that now and says, I was just asked to do something. He says, I felt a bit of a tube, to be honest. And he says, that's the only thing I could think of at the time. And he says, in hindsight, now he now realised that, I've maybe got money, but I'm certainly not happy in what I'm doing. So you can there's also the other side of the delusion that you can convince yourself that money does not buy happiness. And the reason that you're doing that to yourself is because you don't believe you'll ever acquire enough to actually have anything that you really want. So you don't want to actually think about it or aspire to it because you know you'll never get it, or you don't have the belief you'll get it. Because anybody can get anything you want. You can get anything you want in life. You've just got to work hard enough and work out a way how to achieve it. That's the key here. Because we've all got 2 eyes, 1 brain, 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 legs. So most people, in the majority, have all got that. So, and we've all got 24 hours in the day. So what separates the multi-billionaire and the person that's begging on the street and all the people in between? It's the journey they've taken, how they've played the cards they've been dealt with, and the belief they have in themselves to know within themselves that they can achieve what they want to, what they set out to do. But that's small incremental steps in order to understand that. That's not a big mountain to climb straight away, because you'll never ever achieve that, and you'll never ever go for it for that reason. It's understanding your mindset and understanding yourself from within. And it's a lot to do as well as offloading the baggage that you carry about with you every single day. I don't care who you are. If you're Elon Musk, if you're Jeff Bezos, you might think you're absolutely fantastic and you feel great. But the reality is we all carry baggage, emotional baggage, that we've collected over the years from the time that we've been born. And a lot of us have never offloaded it and dealt with it. We keep buying things to try and keep making ourselves happy, to try and keep diverting ourselves from the real issue, which is you've got to deal with the shit you've got right now first before you can move on. This is why people run out and buy massive houses and fantastic cars, and they jump straight onto TikTok and Instagram and everything, go, look, everybody, look what I've bought. And everybody goes, oh, that's fantastic. It's like, love, like. It's like, look at all this appreciation I'm getting. That's exactly why they do it. But they don't want to deal with the real shit that's going on within their lives. That's why they buy all these things. And that's why a lot of people actually get into a lot of debt for that very reason. They're getting a huge amount of debt because they can't control it, because they love that feeling. They love the dopamine hit. This is what the gambling companies, this is why people gamble, because it's not anything to do with making money. It's the excitement they get out of it that they can't get anywhere else. They can't get that feeling. I tell you what, that feeling's absolutely fantastic. But I know how to recreate that without gambling at all. So I can have that feeling every single day if I want. Just don't do it all the time because you'll burn yourself out. You'll never sleep. You'll be like a dog with two tails. and on that note, thanks for coming on, Richard, and debating this. I do think it. I do go back to my original statement though. If anybody says to you, money doesn't buy you happiness, my first response to them is, have you tried it lately?
Yeah, I think for me, if you're in a position where you've acquired money and wealth, it's about what you do with it. And if you are on the journey of working towards building and wealth creation and your wealth and money, then you need to question why you're actually doing that and what you're setting out to achieve. I think for me.
Right. Let's finish off with this final statement, which I never read out in the very beginning. I am the creator of my life. I'm not the manager of my circumstances anymore.
Quite a good one.
Perfect. And on that note, guys, thanks very much for watching, tuning in, and thanks for coming on the show, Rich.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. We will be back next week, 12:30, guys. So please join in. And until then, see you later.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.